Distinguished Professor Yang Yongping, Director General, Xishuangbanna Tropical Botanical Garden, Chinese Academy of Sciences. Distinguished Professor Xu Jianchu, Director of the Center for Mountain Futures. Distinguished speakers, Professor Naku Chetri, Professor Li Dezhu, Professor Zhu Chunquan, Professor Guo Mengmeng, and participants. Greetings from the Secretariat of the International Bamboo and Rattan Organization. I'm Jing Wei, Capacity Building Manager of INBAR. I'm very happy to announce the opening of the International Seminar on Nature-Based Solutions for Sustainable Development in the Mountainous Regions. Mountain areas are rich in resources, including forests and minerals, and are the source of much of the world's fresh water. Mountain areas are home to a disproportionately high percentage of poor people, depend directly on their ability to grow, harvest, process, and market crop, livestock, fish, and forest produce, and their ability to adapt production and marketing as the conditions change. Mountain areas are highly fragile and susceptible to natural disasters, but their deforestation and degradation are rampant in many developing countries, resulting in increasing threats to the livelihoods of inhabitants and to the global environment. Economic and population growth have combined to increase pressure on land, water, forest, and biodiversity. Models of effective sustainable development in mountain areas that balance economic, environmental, and social development would enable broad adoption and adaptation for the good of the mountain peoples and environments throughout the world. The seminar was able to invite top experts from fields of biodiversity conservation, ethno-ecology, cross-boundary landscape, nature-positive economy, and green finance to give a serious discussion on sustainable development and green transition in mountain context. Explore potential and deliberate on different dimensions of applying nature-based solutions, while identifying for opportunities for regional cooperation. Thanks to the great works and cooperation of our co-organizers, the Xishuangbanna Tropical Botanical Garden, Center for Mountain Futures, Southeast Asia Biodiversity Research Institute, and International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. Now, may I invite our first speaker, Dr. Naku Chetri, to deliver his presentation. Dr. Naku Chetri is the Regional Program Manager for Transboundary Landscapes at ICIMOD. Dr. Chetri is also a lead author of the IPBES report and a member of IUCN WCPA Specialist Group for Transboundary Conservation. Dr. Chetri, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Zin. Respected professors, Professor Su, Professor Yang Yongping, Professor Lee, and all other colleagues. It's my pleasure to be part of this very important meeting, as well as the first speaker. As it is already indicated, I'll be talking on nature-based solutions for greener and climate-resilient world, and interdisciplinary and scale perspective from mountain ecosystems. I'll touch upon rationale for green and climate-resilient mountain world, and the genesis of nature-based solutions, briefly, then mountain specificity that need to be considered for nature-based solutions, interdisciplinary and scale perspectives that are quite critical, and then need for upscaling and outscaling perspectives. To start with, I'll just recap on recently published IPBES report that is at the global scale, where 5 major drivers were mentioned, like climate change, overexploitation, land use change, pollutions, and invasive species. And if we translate that into drivers, pressure, state, impact, response perspective, then you'll see these areas where we need to consider, like increase in carbon dioxide, fire, then increase in health issues and others. And also, no consequence are increase of disaster, sea level rise, inequality, conflict, And then it has implications in terms of impacts on water crisis, food crisis, increased vulnerability, biodiversity loss. And obviously, we need to think about very amicable responses for mountain ecosystem, where the existings are ecosystem-based adaptation, community-based conservation, science, policy, and practice interfaces. So these are already being practiced. And if we get some example in terms of mountains and climate change perspective, then this particular slide gives you an example of some of the species, the major mammal species are changing their range in terms of habitat. They are moving higher elevation. And the number of species that are moving higher elevation is quite prominent in our region of Hindu Kush Himalayan region, where you can see over here. Likewise, other than mammals, other species are also there, which are transboundary in nature. So they intersect transborder areas, and when the climate change impact happens, then definitely they need to move from one elevation to another elevation. And these are the border areas where number of higher species are in transboundary context. So definitely regional cooperation is one. And this is the recent analysis where border protected area were analyzed by IUCN. And you can see that most of the border areas are also repository of biodiversity. Protected areas are largely in the border areas because of the wilderness. And we need regional cooperation in a wider and landscape scale. So to rationalize that, obviously, we know the history and genesis of nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions have been there, and in a contemporary term, it was mentioned in Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. Then later on, the IPCC AR Report 4 also it was mentioned. But in the recent time, it is getting some prominence, more clarity in definition, more clarity in its implications are being talked about. So I don't want to go into detail, but in the genesis, you can see that now it is quite important part of UNEP-CCC, CBD, and other conservation and development arena. There are already some examples. This is some examples where, in Germany, in Costa Rica, this kind of nature-based solutions are being applied and tested and then redefined. That means, we do have some good examples of nature-based solution in terms of managing water balance, reducing erosion, and so on and so forth. If we look at this particular slide, you'll see that there are two aspects of nature-based solution being applied. One is on nature-based solution in adaptation component, and other is nature-based solution in mitigation component. And the figure that is yellowish is with the mitigation component, and the light yellow is adaptation component, and the combined one is both the components. So you can see, some of our countries like India and Nepal are using this combinedly, and some are separately. Just to give the perspective, since we are talking about mountains, so definitely mountain have some kind of specificity, as it was also defined by Dr. Jodha earlier: accessibility, marginality, fragility, diversity, and niche. We have been able to address many aspects so far in terms of accessibility, in terms of marginality, but the fragility is still there. Diversity is also there as an important component. Then niche is already there. So that means some of these specificities need to be considered when designing nature-based solutions. And just for your information, we are in a world of contiguous habitat. Bioclimatic zones are crossing the borders, and all this contiguity needs regional approach, and nature-based solutions are quite critical in mountain context. Just to give a glimpse, we have been working on this transboundary landscape to bring the interdisciplinary perspective as well as scale perspective across the border and at the regional scale. So I don't want to go into detail. There are 4 landscapes which are at operational stage. But few examples where interdisciplinarity and regional scale are critically important. I would like to rationalize that. Here, this is an example of far eastern Himalayan landscape where we have analyzed bird and mammal distribution across the countries. And you can see that there are a number of species which are country specific, but there are quite a number of species, like 220 species are common to 3 countries in terms of birds. And 61 species are common in terms of mammal, and there are some bilateral commonalities. So that means when we have to think about the beta diversity, then definitely we need to think at the scale, a larger scale. So that's why we are promoting and we are advocating these connectivity corridors between the protected areas and also between the countries. And for that matter, again, the conservation and development dilemmas are there. And if we are talking about species conservation, we are promoting transboundary cooperation in tiger conservation, for example. And since conservation is also bringing implication on human-wildlife conflict, then we also need to address this human-wildlife conflict at this scale that we are intervening. So we are also working on the conflict management strategy at the landscape level. And then we also need to think about greening our economy, because as I have already mentioned, mountains are fragile, and we have to capitalize on the nature that is more fit for a green economy. So here examples again from high life area, far eastern Himalaya, where bird tourism is being promoted as a green economy, and obviously it also need to scale out and scale up. And in Kanchenjunga landscape, we are scaling out this green enterprises as an example of homestay cluster in the Kanchenjunga landscape. So homestay again is a nature-based tourism perspective that we are promoting. Another very important interdisciplinary aspect is, we do have a very critical, important agrobiodiversity, which Professor Shu will also touch upon later. And this agrobiodiversity we are losing in a very fast rate. Now what we are trying to do is agrobiodiversity need to be conserved. Our traditional practices need to be conserved. So then we are tying this agrobiodiversity and traditional food culture into tourism, so that both culture and our traditional food and the agrobiodiversity could be preserved. Likewise, in many areas, over-exploitation and degradations are happening. So now what we are trying to do is bringing this degraded area into ecosystem restoration and bring co-benefits. So this is one example of this Nepali paper from one species, and where the degraded land are restored with this serb, and then translated into the product of Nepali paper, which has a global market, and it is quite high demand for Japan currency. So we are trying to restore those areas with co-benefit opportunities for communities. Likewise, water resources are dying, and springs are drying, and so again, we are intervening in terms of recharge of springs aid and revival of springs, and then bringing the water security perspective into mountains. So again, likewise, we are also talking about transdisciplinarity in terms of gene exchange. This is one example where in Kanchenjunga landscape we have been able to bring genetic pool from Bhutan to India and Nepal in terms of bringing viability of yak population. But in the process, we are also translating that into product like this yak cheese, of high value yak cheese, which are being marketed and now taken into consideration for economic development. So now, just to summarize, all these aspects are bringing examples of multidisciplinarity at the scale of landscape. And also trying to bring this nature-based solution into perspective. So just to summarize, nature-based solutions and good practices are already there. Quite a number of practices are already available in the region. Mountain contextualization is needed in terms of redefining nature-based solutions. Better clarity on definition is needed, which earlier also we discussed this in terms of presenting our policy brief. and then reinventing this definition in the mountain context. And again, nature-based solutions need to be also customized in our policy. And but last but not the least is nature-based solution is emerging as a potential and promising tool for revitalization of degraded areas and then restoration of ecosystems. So with this promising commitment, promising aspects of nature-based solutions, I'd like to stop here and thank you very much for your opportunity. Over to you, Professor Z.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chetri, for helping us to have a more explicit understanding of the concept, nature-based solutions. The multidisciplinary and scale perspectives are very key to provide integrated solutions. Now, let's move on to learn more on a study regarding to sustainable food system presented by Dr. Zhu Chunquan. Dr. Zhu is presently head of the Nature Initiatives China World Economic Forum Beijing Representative Office. Dr. Zhu is leading the nature initiatives of the Center for Nature and Climate, including Tropical Forest Alliance, Nature Agenda Actions, 1 Trillion Trees, China Action, and the nature-based solutions. Now, Dr. Zhu, the floor is yours.朱老师，您的麦克没开。
谢谢，因为大家上午好，非常荣幸。
Thank you for your introduction. It's my honor to share with you the biodiversity and the food system research. Well, for the food system, I guess that you have a good idea of it. Now, for the livable land, so you can see the agricultural land takes up 50% of the livable area, and for husbandry or food production. Well, the value of the food system accounts for about 10% of the global GDP. It's about $8 trillion. And also agricultural sector also account for about 26%. Well, for the food system, it includes all participants and their associated value-added activities, which involve the production, harvest, processing, distribution, consumption, and disposal of food produced by agriculture. Well, like the forestry, fishery, food industry, as well as the wider economic, social, and the natural environment in which they are located. Well, we know that for food system, the biodiversity serves as a foundation for the food system. Well, for the production and processing of the food system also has brought about challenges or threats to biodiversity. So we can see the land and the ocean, and they're basically driving force and for that biodiversity. Well, the previous years, we have the analysis about the impact of the loss of biodiversity on different industries and the relevant risks. Well, also for industrial transformation, what kind of opportunities they brought about and the jobs they created. Well, so I make analysis and for the future of the business, the economy, and we also analyzed that for China. Well, food system and biodiversity, and they are closely related. The previous studies shows that the food, land, and ocean use related industries influenced about 72% of the endangered species. Well, this is really a huge impact. Well, for infrastructure, built environment, and energy and extractives, well, and altogether the three socio-economic systems together have almost 80% of a climate change impact. That's really huge. Well, second, we can see back in 2019, the analysis shows the 5 direct drivers of biodiversity loss. First is the changes in land and sea use. The second, direct exploitation of organisms, and thirdly, climate change followed by pollution, etc. Well, just now we talk about food system and land sea use. Well, this is the most important reason, most important driver for biodiversity loss. Well, almost half of land area suitable for living is used for food production. At the same time, we see the over farming, etc. All are the factors and attributing to this, attributing to biodiversity losses. Well, so for the tropical areas and in South Hemisphere, and they also have the destruction or the destroying of the local forests. And 95% of the deforestation happens in the tropical areas. This is also heatedly discussed in the world. Well, between 1990 and 2020, the world has lost 178 million hectares of forest. That is an area about the size of Libya. Well, that's really startling. For exploitation of wildlife resources, especially for the fishery resources or the wild animals, etc. The wildlife, so we can see this accounts for the 68% of the species reduction. Well, water consumption. Well, almost 70% of the global freshwater consumption is used in the agriculture sector. It's predicted that maybe in 2050, and this will also continue to rise. So we can see the food system and the supply chain will account for about 30% of the total carbon emission, and like, for example, the animal husbandry alone accounts for 16.5% of the total greenhouse gas emission, 44% of total methane emissions, and 53% of the total nitrogen oxide emission. Apart from this, food system also lead to pollution, like it's by chemical fertilizer, pesticide, or this agricultural waste and the fission tools and etc. This all lead to pollutions, etc. Well, food system also bring about the invasive alien species, also affecting the international trade. Well, so these are the 5 basic elements. It's basically from the production, aggregation, processing, distribution, retailing, consumption, disposal, and how the biodiversity is related to these different parts. We have a detailed introduction here. Well, so how can we push forward this nature positive transition of the food system, or we just reduce or cut the threat and on the biodiversity? Well, so it has a lot to do with the objectives and action directions for nature positive transition of food systems. We have all this listed on that, such as 20% of the degraded freshwater, marine and terrestrial ecosystems are under restoration, etc. Well, many of these have a lot to do with the food system. For example, to encourage the exposure of production information, to encourage the healthy consumption, and also to lift and those subsidies harming biodiversity, especially those related to food. So that's about 500 billion every year. Well, there are 6 transitions aiming to spare land and water area for nature. Well, in the process of food production, we shall avoid land and ocean use expansion. And also for the agricultural production and the water usage, and also the protection of the insects, etc. So we should have a systematic approach to protect biodiversity and also to ensure the food security. Well, for forestry, we shall enhance the sustainable forest management by providing different types of forestry products, and also to provide a service and for people to meet their needs, and especially the local people. The livelihood is really important. Also, we promote the planet compatible consumption modes, and also to build a transparent and sustainable supply chains. This is about the 6 transitions for food, land, and ocean use system. We hope that by 2020, and this system can create $3.6 trillion in annual business opportunities and 191 million jobs. So also for the applications, and we can see about fulfillment of this the treaties, and we hope that we can enhance the cooperation between the developed and the developing countries, and also enhance the especially in capacity building, funding, also the production, consumption, etc. And we also need to drive forward the policy and the regulation. We shall have more NBS solutions, like the nature-based solutions, as the previous speaker talked about. And we also hope to improve on the EEP, and also to promote the natural capital and green investment, like this, the GEP, as I mentioned, to strengthen information transparency and accountability, and also to apply that big data, drones, the Internet of Things, and to remote sensing, blockchain, etc., and to centralize the production and make it more sustainable, and to also promote e-commerce and to reduce, cut on food waste, and to also cut on the harmful subsidies for companies, and also encourage the companies and also to make their contributions in this regard. Well, so with this, and I end my introduction, I would like to thank the organizer for giving us such exchanging opportunities.
We realize that it is high time for us to change our mode of the whole food chain, from production to consumption to disposal, to perform a responsible economy. We also see the importance of the timely participation of various stakeholders to achieve a sustainable food system. Now, let's move on to our third speaker, Professor Xu Jianchu. He is a professor of Kunming Institute of Botany, Chinese Academy of Sciences. Prof. Xu is the director of the Mountain Future Research Center, chief scientist of the World Agroforestry Center. He is an internationally respected leading ethno-ecologist who works in coupled human environmental systems. He will introduce the experiences summarized from a comprehensive project in China, which applied close to nature agroforestry system. Prof. Xu, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I found some problem. I just changed the computer and I cannot share the screen. And, can you move? Can you shift with a little first? I figure out the technical problem. Sorry for that.
OK，
Yeah.
我们先去李德珠，我们可以在这儿给您分享，您
Okay.
OK。So Professor Xu has some problem with his presentation. Now we move to.
Can I send my PPT to you and project from there?
Yeah. Please send it.
How?
We're going to copy. OK.
Yeah. Okay.
You send to my email. OK.
好，你换一个吧，先。
OK. So we are going to the next presenter, Professor Li Dezhu. Professor Li, are you ready?
Okay. Yes. Yes, I'm ready.
Please turn on
Okay,
your video camera.
Yeah.
Could you?
Okay.
Please?
Yes.
Professor Li. Professor.
Can you see me now?
Professor Li.
Yeah.
So we go to Professor. Professor Li is now here.
Yeah.
我们有您的那个有您的像。Okay, Professor Li Dezhu. Let's join Professor Li to explore the great potentials of the bamboo species in contribute to the biodiversity and sustainable development. Prof. Li Dezhu is a professor of Kunming Institute of Botany, Chinese Academy of Sciences. He is the director of the Germplasm Bank of Wild Species and honorary fellow of the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh. Prof. Li, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jingwei, for your introduction. It's an honor on behalf of the Southeastern Asian Biodiversity Research Institute to give you a brief introduction about diversity, biogeography, conservation, and sustainable development of bamboos in Southeastern
李老师，
Asia.
您播放一下，就他们现在没有全屏。
Okay.
可能您分享的不是全屏的那个屏幕，您
Okay.
重新分享一个，
Yeah.
可以重新分享一下。
Okay.
就是
先要把它打开。
打开再分享。
就选择那个全屏的那个屏幕。
Okay. 先打开。打开了。So
没有分享。
共享屏幕。
共享屏幕要点一下 Zoom 的共享屏幕。
Okay. 共享屏幕就在这个共享，点这个。Okay， 共享。So 在全屏。
好像不行，您的全屏在另外一个屏幕上。不好意思。那个我们有您的 PPT， 我们从这儿给您播行吗？
也可以。
对，然后您就是播的，您说一下那个下一页，您说一下下一页。
OK，
他们帮您翻译。OK， 已经分享好了。
好的。
OK。朱老师，您可以开始讲了。您看到那个屏幕了吗？分享的。
我看到了。OK。Sorry for the technical problem, and so I would like to give you some introduction about diversity, biogeography, conservation, and sustainable development of bamboos in Southeastern Asia. So next, please.
翻页，对。
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I will. My talk will be in the next 3 parts. The next one will be a brief introduction of the Poaceae, 禾本科, and the Bambusoideae, which is 竹亚科. Yeah. Next, please. So Poaceae actually is one of the 5 largest family of the plant kingdom with about 12,000 species. It includes the most important food crops like such as rice, corn, wheat, and of course bamboo is one of the important elements for of the grass family. And China is one of the center of distribution of the grass family with about 1,800 species in 228 family. And southern China is a center of origin for rice cultivation. And the Yellow River Basin is probably the origin center for millet and glutinous millet. Next, please. So when we're talking about the taxonomy of the grass family, we can go back to the 1883 when the British botanists established 2 clades above the tribal level for the grass family. And I won't go to the details of the system of classification, but I just want to mention that in 1986, still by British botanists, bamboo is one of the 6 subfamilies. And interestingly, the rice genus is also included in the bamboo subfamily until 2012. So the modern system of grass classification was established. So all in the grass family, a total of 12 subfamily was recognized, including 2 new subfamily established in 1996 and 2000, both separated from the bamboo subfamily. Next slide, please. So I just give you a really simplified cradle, what we call the cradle grain of the grass family, and the bamboo is the red triangle, represented by the dragon bamboo, and the 3 what we call the basal subfamily are all separated from the bamboos. So bamboo is clustered with the rice and the wheat together, composed of the BOP clade. Next. Talking about the historical origin of the bamboo, so the what we call the Chrome Age of the bamboo subfamily is something like 54 million years ago, and the probably area of origin is Indo-Malaya. Malaya, and this is in a paper newly published in Journal of Science, Systematics and Evolution in 2012. Next. So bamboo actually is the woody member of the grasses, and as I think many people know, bamboo has a long flowering circle of something like 30 to 80 years, up to 120 years. And some of the bamboo shoots can grow as much as 1.2 meters in 24 hours. And the old woody bamboo can reach, some species actually can reach 38 meters in height, actually in something like less than 2 months. Next. So bamboo actually is unevenly distributed across the tropics and subtropics of the group, and they are two centers of modern distribution. One is what we call the Asian Pacific, including 1,100 species from 71 genera. And the other center is Latin American, including something like 580 species in 48 genera. So, of course, the other area, including African continent and Madagascar, also has some species, and most of them are distributed in the tropical area, but some can reach mountain area up to 4,200 meters. Next. So bamboo are morphologically very diversified. I just want to show you some picture, and some of the herbaceous bamboo is something like most like it's very small, tiny plants, and the woody bamboo can reach as high as 37 meters, and they are could be erect, could be scrambling, could be running, could be in a large size. Next. And they are ecologically very important, very relevant to today's topic, nature-based solutions. So they are the major food for the rare iconic panda species, and also provide nutrition. I mean, for many fungus, mushroom, and other wildlife. Next. And bamboo is of significant economical value. And actually, last year, a couple of governmental ministry issued a guideline for accelerating the innovation and the development of bamboo industry in China for the first time. And for the next 5 years, the natural bamboo industry is going to be reached to 700 billion China yuan and 1 trillion China yuan by 2035. Next. Of course, China bamboo is very culturally important. Next. So I will give you some introduction about diversity and biogeography of bamboo in Southeast Asia. Next. So there are a lot of problems, I mean, in bamboo taxonomy and phylogeny, and because of the complex and variable morphological traits, lack of identification and characters such as flower and fruits, and also because of the conflict of chloroplast marker and the nuclear marker. Also, the polyploidization caused of the problem, and very few reliable fossil record, and lack of systematic study at the global scale. Next. Next, please. Yeah. So bamboo classification is one of the most difficult area in agrostorology. Next. So because of the time limitation, I want to go to the details of the major classification set of the bamboo. But looking at these columns, we can recognize that something like 136 genera were recognized by the newest system of classification. Next. So interestingly, using chloroplast marker, bamboo, the woody bamboo were not resolved as what we call the non-monophyly, which is means it's not could be not a nature group. Next. So actually, using molecular marker, we can clearly see that the woody bamboo are a nature group, but divided into 4 major clades for old bamboo and for the woody bamboo. They are paleotropical woody bamboo, neotropical woody bamboo, temperate woody bamboo, and the herbaceous woody bamboo, which is a diploid. Other woody bamboo are textroploid or hexaploids. Next. So more details about the species distribution of the two major clades. One is the paleotropical woody bamboo. The other is the temperate woody bamboo. Next. Because of the time limitation, I want to go to the details of the morphological diversity. So here shows some rhizome, culms, common sheaths, branch and leaves, inflorescence and coleophysis. Next. And this is the some of the major classification for the paleo woody bamboo, and we are going to publish this paper really soon. Next. And just to give you some idea about the evolutionary history of paleotropical woody bamboo, which might be originated in Southeast and South Asia at around the Oligocene and the Miocene boundary, which is something like 23 million years ago. Next. And one of the subtribe, which is called Myloclalinia, and this is an earlier diverging subtribe of the paleotropical bamboo, which is also originated in eastern Himalaya, northern Myanmar in the earlier Miocene. Next. And talking about the temperate woody bamboo, they are also a complex story. And recently, we published a system of classification at the subtribe level. We recognize 5 subtribes. Actually, 3 of them are newly established. Next. And we also used a molecular data set to resolve the radiative and reticulate evolution of the temperate woody bamboo. Next. And biogeography of woody bamboo into the historical time. Next. So here I give you some idea about the origin of this bamboo in the late Miocene, something like 3 to 3.5 million years ago. Next. And we also sequenced a few representative species of bamboo, including the diploids, tetraploids, and hexaploids. Next. And also showing the historical diversification of the bamboo, something like 23 million years ago until now. Next. And one interesting thing is that the gene duplication is closely related to the lignin biosynthesis, so which makes the herbaceous bamboo into a woody grasses. Next. So finally, I will give you some slides talking about the conservation and sustainable development. Next. So actually, bamboo are very important, and it's very it's important renewable natural resources, non-timber timber forest products, and they are something like 1,500 documented application of bamboo products. And the bamboo forests have a high carbon storage capacity, and of course, is very widely used in Southeastern Asian countries. Next. And the bamboo can provide numerous ecosystem services, Next. And here we showed some representative genera like Guadoa, Indosasa, Medocana, Bambusa, and so on. The difference in carbon stock. Next. So taking about moso bamboo, which is a characteristic species in China, and it's a very important woody biomass. I mean, for carbon sink. Next. And so this is Bambusa, some a very big genus, including 100 species. I show you some representative species. And the next. Dendrogram calamus, which harbors the biggest bamboo in the world, something like 37 meters in height. Next. And the Philostachys, I mentioned moso bamboo, which is very important in China and the Himalayas. And this is with something like 51 species across Eastern Asia. Next.
Last minute.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So, Chimodo bambusa. Next. Dendrochlora are also widely distributed in Southeast Asia. Next. Lao bamboos, which is a new genus. Next. And the Golygosania. Next. So, just using the final seconds to see bamboo is the poorman's, from the poorman's timber to golden green gold, and we need to do much about bamboo in understanding its possibility for sustainable development of Southeast Asia. Okay, next. So maybe this is the final one. So thank you for inviting me to join this session, and I would like to have more collaboration with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Lee. Thank you for showing us the group teamwork in research on bamboo biodiversity in the world. From Prof. Lee's presentation, we could see that bamboo is a quite ancient species and it distributed widely. Now, it's a big family. It distributed widely in altitudinally and latitudinally. And we also know that it could be a very effective tool for local people to achieve multiple goals in ecology, economy, and social development. Okay, so now we have Professor Xu's presentation here. So Professor Xu, we have shared your presentation. Are you ready for the presentation? Yeah.
Oh, that's the older one. Anyway, so it's okay. This my old PPT without updating, but I can work with that.
You can say.
Okay. Let me move forward. My topic is close to nature agroforestry system for conservation and development in the global mountain region. Yeah. Next slide, please. So my talk will be considered divided into 3 parts. Next. Next, please. I'd like to emphasize this year's International Year of Mountain, and I don't know how many people are familiar and about UN Agenda 21 from 1992. As a chapter 13 is a particular mountain chapter. It's basically illustrate how important the mountain in the global ecosystem. 25% of land surface, a very high biodiversity and also cultural diversity, and provide a very important fresh water and almost 2/3, and also very amazingly hardworking people and a very rich cultural diversity. And the next slides. But it's a great challenge from mountain, and mountain always a negative name for a lot of people, and mean disaster and the war like Afghanistan, and the poverty, landslides, but also now the mountain more degradation because of monoculture. So mountain also lost the ecological function, and in the most place. We may also find the mountain area, the agricultural system increase productivity, but not necessarily increase the income. So because lack of technology, and it's far away from the new emerging market, and in coast area, in floodplain, and also cause a lot of pollution and soil erosion, landslides, but also a lot of pollutants due to heavily used chemicals, and of course the climate change. So those are great grand challenge for the mountain society, and also have a downstream effect of from the distance. Next slide. Also, I'd like to highlight, and also, if we look at what's called the agricultural system, because the mountain also is a lot of origin of agriculture from mountain hunting, gathering, long time ago, ancestral practice, but also still many mountain people depend hunting, gathering for food and nutrition. So the second part is the shifting cultivation. My personal first job is to look at the shifting cultivation in the Golden Triangle area, and that's practiced more than 10,000 years ago until today. Then we have found a lot of conservation agriculture, like a tourist party. You can find in Bhutan, Nepal, India, and China, and even Philippines, as a traditional farming system. Then today we introduce called industry agriculture, depends on machinery and chemical use. Now we try to introduce a modern agriculture, which is far away, move away from nature, and depends on heavy chemical input, but also the greenhouse, and also the drip irrigation system. So that's called modern agriculture. What the future looks like in the mountain, particularly look at the agricultural system. We need a smart by connecting everything, and to monitor not only greenhouse gas emission, but also how efficient the use of the water. Also, we need to find a way coexisting of different species, combine different microbiome, different species into ecosystem. So today we move away from nature. The future we need to move back to the nature are called the third nature. The nature not similar to our ancestors, and the nature not similar today because of degradation. The nature to find a way and through the coexisting different species, and the smart through the circular agriculture I'm going to talk about today. So move next slides, please. Then we look at how a nature-based solution basically based on 5 pillars of biological diversity and how to make ecosystem function. So that's the microbiome, plants, fungi, insects, and animal. And so today, our waste, or health, or beauty, or life, all depends the connection of different species, and also the circular among different species. So keep in mind, so 5 pillars and the interconnected, interdependent are results of the function and evolution of millions of years in the nature and the human interaction. Next slide. So circular agriculture means the output from all process are input to other process. So close to nature means we need to make circular through the nutrition, through the food web works. So the resources saving and the environment friendly through the production from plants, and the animal eat the plants, and then bacteria and the fungi as decomposition of plants and animal, and then return to the nature through the nutrient cycle of ecosystem. Next slide. So we pay a lot of attention of fungi. You can find fungi connect all species above and below ground, and through the nutrient cycle. The fungi play a very important role in the ecosystem services, and also produce a lot of food and nutrition through the macrofungi, and particularly the edible mushrooms, what we harvest today, particularly for people based in Yunnan, Southwest China, from the mountain region. And there's a mushroom collection also generate a lot of incomes. Next. So we talk about agroforestry. So agroforestry and the circular system, we needed to start with a new germplasm collection, find how to combine different germplasm together, make an agroforestry system. So then we needed to understand agroecology, to understand how different species function. The third step was going to restore the ecosystem through the combination of a tree, shrub, and the crop, and the combination even below ground, and then say microbiome. So we call agroforestry, combine the different layers in the ecosystem. Finally, anything what we call waste, from crop residues, pruning of trees, and also the waste from animal husbandry, and through the circular biotechnology demonstration and the return to the nature. So that's the creation of a circular agriculture in our food web, in our food systems today. Next. So that's simply, if we plant trees, don't forget integrate the valuable mushrooms like trefoil and the other species for restoration. So that's a technology available in Europe, in China, in the American for restoration ecology, and they combine the pine, oaks with the different ecosystems. How when we plant trees, after 5 years, you can harvest trefoil and the other mushrooms from the forest. So that's how we facilitate the agroforestry as a restoration and for ecosystem functioning. Next slide. So close to nature forest regeneration is another approach. So you can see different natural restoration of different forests have different mushroom. So from young forest and then to the middle and then later on, we have a trichroma, that's what we call matsutake mushroom, with from old matured forest you can harvest. So from different stage, you need to understand different tree mushroom interaction and then manage for high valuable mushroom from the natural regeneration of forest. Then we have need, so not only food, mushroom, but also very important fiber. How are we going to restore the ecosystem which can produce fiber? So when today, of course, everyone think about cotton, but we have tree cotton, such as Ciba pentadura. So that's commonly found in dry land, in the mountain, in the Africa. So that's the first layer. The second layer, emla, the Phlanthus umbilica as second layer. We have a third layer called Calotropis gigantea, another high valuable fibers. and then we have legume as ground cover. So these we are demonstrating mainly for produce fiber from cotton tree and from Calotropis gigantea. And sometimes we combine fruits like amla, the native species, and other legume for animals, livestock. So that's agroforestry commonly now we are demonstrating in our dry hot valley in southwest China. Next slide. So that's the fiber we collect from cotton tree. We develop through the high technology from Shanghai, and then we develop the market. This year, we generate about 10 million Chinese yuan from one single species, that's a cotton tree, and there was a high quality fiber, and there was environment friendly, and they use less water, no fertilizer use, and through the restoration or project site. Next slide. The future technology is also amazing. And if you go push one button, you can see we extract the fungi species and through the bio-based reactor to produce bio-based leather to replace the animal skin and for high quality fiber. So that's that in the future textile industry, not based on animal skin to making bag, making our shoes, not based on normal cotton, based on linear and the new technology, biotechnology as alternative for fiber for leathers. So that's today's technology. My team is working on that. The next. So that's the leather and we produce in our lab. Yeah. So you can see the quality. And then now we expand to larger scale and try to produce the 1 by 1 meter leathers like this. Next slide. So in short, so agroecology is the first things we needed to learn from nature. Biotechnology is our through transdisciplinary research. Combine close to nature agroecology learned from ancestral different ethnic group. Also by transdisciplinary interdisciplinary research through the new generation of biotechnology, and then we can restore the nature through, for instance, the amla, the umbilica, we're doing a large scale mining restoration. We have shaded coffee with a European Rainforest Alliance certification. We have dryland restoration. The mango garden use biofertilizer produce the best mango in China. So we have a lot of demonstration. Incorporate new species into agroecosystem. We have standard, we have vertical and organic farming system. And now we reached the 2 million hectare demonstration and in past 5 years. Next slide. So in short, and we needed to develop market recognized close to nature agroforestry products. And simply everyone knows about Yunnan because we have a nature forest-based tea with a high quality. We have multiple layer shade tea in the Eastern Himalaya, and we work also in Nepal and also the Assam in India. We have a single strata acid coffee with Arnold's Nipponensis combined as shade trees in Nagaland for India, but also very important in Nujiang, also southwest China, Yunnan province, which is much better than monoculture tea. Similar to coffee, we promote multi-layers coffee with a combination of amla with other species, and all we combination amla with tea, coffee together. So that's agroforestry. We are developing what's close to nature with multiple benefit, not only carbon, climate change, but also high quality through the circle of nutrition and the waste. So that's the future close to nature agroforestry demonstration can go with a different elevation, with a different shade cover for through different species. Next slide.
Last minute, Professor.
Okay, and almost there. And you can see our circles through the mushroom and large scale. We use insects. We have a large farm of insects to digest the animal waste from the livestock farming system. Next slide. So we get the standard and we get the extension system for Central Asia, in North Korea, and work with India and Africa smallholder farmers. We recognized by UN as a South good practice, particularly the mushroom-based agroforestry system, and we practice in India, Nepal, and Myanmar. Next slide. So finally, I'd like to promote, we have a journal called Circular Agriculture to promote the coexisting, connecting, and carbon neutral society and the farming system. So we have website, and please do submit. Last slide, please. So that's the Mountain Future Center. Welcome everyone. We have demonstration. We have best mango, lemon, and the fish and the chicken, and also the sheep next stage. And then welcome to Mountain Future. And that's my talk today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Xu. Definitely, we want to be there. Now I want to taste the very, very tasty food there. And so Professor Xu pointed out that agroforestry system is important to achieve multi goals for the local people, like sustainable livelihood and ecological services, as well as claiming back the local biodiversity. And so he told us that planting trees and crops equals much more. And so we needed to look at the local resources and how can we wisely use them. Okay, so now we comes to our last presenter, Professor Guo Mengmeng. She will give us hints on this aspect on the green financing aspects, because we all know that financial validity is a key factor of a successful project. So, Prof. Guo is a professor at Southwestern University of Finance and Economics. Her research is focused on green finance, climate and finance, environment and finance. Let's hear from her. Professor Guo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks a lot. So thanks a lot for inviting me here, and it's my great honor to share some development of green finance to especially right now to the carbon. We have the double carbon goals, and so as other professors, so in fact they already mentioned that so climate change, even right now from ICPP, they also mentioned climate change is a very global challenge for all of us. And so especially the carbon emission, so this kind of issue. So not only we say introduce the greenhouse effect, but in fact for a lot of natural disasters is also caused by this carbon emission. So IMF, so they point out, so as the financial sector, so they should play the role to fight against the climate change and also for the green development. Then, so we just collect some information about the climate change and climate risk in globally. So we can see, in fact, in China and especially in South Asia, so we do face a very big challenge about the climate risk. and come back to China. So because of the global warming, so the temperature, the average temperature, start from 1951 till right now. So we can see, so it's gradually increasing. So the reason is the main reason is because of the greenhouse and especially the carbon emission risk. And so we talk about the finance, and before that, so we should know so what kind of consequence of the damage caused by this climate change, and to which factor and how finance they play the role. So firstly, for the financial cost of firm and also firm's profit, so they influence a lot to the climate change. And so as other professors they mentioned, especially in fact in agriculture, so the crop yield, so they are very sensitive to climate. So this is also a very important sector influenced by climate change. And this later on we will talk about how green finance, so they will help the agriculture sector to against for this kind of risk. So then we talk about for the, like we say, the finance should play a role to against the environment and the finance and the climate. So then we say what is green finance? So green finance, in fact, the first the point out is in 2016 by the G20. And so later on, so different organizations will have the definition. But in general, we say the green finance is the refers to the financial services that support private and public financial flows to the activities that to mitigate and adapt to climate change, and also protect the environment, ecosystem, and biodiversity. So this is the we mentioned before, and the aim is to improve the efficiency of resources utilization, and so this is like all this kind of money. We say this would be the green finance, and so besides the definition, in fact, we have some products related to green finance. For example, we have the green bonds, green loans, equities, and investment funds guarantees. So this and other financial derivatives related to the, like we mentioned before. So they all belong to the green finance. And then so we give a little bit picture about how exactly the recent development of green finance globally and also in China. So here we can see so like from 2015 to 2020, so the size of green bonds increasing quite a lot. But of course, so like the Europe, so they contribute a lot, half. But in Asia and Pacific right now, so it's the total amount is also increasing. And so this is the shares of the cumulative green bond issued by the different sectors. So the main sector is like the point from the carbon emission is the most important sector is from the energy, and then it comes from the building, and further we have transportation, water, and waste recycle, so on and so forth. So we also check from the IFF, the Global Finance and Development. So they gave the Global Green Finance Development Index. So for the developing country, so we can see that. So so far, so China in fact is the top one, is lead for the green finance development. Then comes to Mexico and Chile, so and other countries. And then we say, okay, so we are in China, so we are doing a lot. And in fact, in the 5-year plan for the 30s and 40s, so we do have a very clear target to policies to address the climate change and the carbon emission. So then how about the green finance developed in China? So we have the green loans in China, and from 2018 to 2021. So we can see, so in general, so the amount, so the increasing, okay, so it's always increasing, and the share is also getting larger. And even in China, so we say, so because of the development status is different, so we also checked for the development of green finance, the locally development. Sorry, so the picture is only in Chinese. So the first here is Beijing, Zhejiang, Guangdong. So this is the coastal area, and the second is mainly in the middle zone, and the third one would be for the kind of like for the west part. Okay, so it's highly correlated with the economic development in fact. And so we're trying to do a lot to trying to mitigate about the carbon emission and the climate risk. So the first one from the energy sector for the last decades, in fact, so the effect is very obvious. So the share of coal in power generation is decreased from in 2010 from 77% to 2019 to 64.6%. And then so the annual decline rate is about 1.38. It's quite a lot. And so as we also say, so for the financial sector, they do support for the green finance. So we only list one example about for the green credit. So green loans issued by the commercial banks from 2013 to 2019. So we can see, so the amount, so the trending is also increasing. So we talk about green finance is very important and it's developing very well. And then we comes to the role of green finance, and then we discuss how the green finance will contribute to the agriculture part. So green finance, so it's still a replace to finance. So for the financial tools, basically we have the two roles. One is about the hedging instrument. Is used to hedge risks. Okay, for example, the hedge, the natural disaster risk, climate risk. So it's this would be the first the role, and the second role of green finance is still the financial instrument. For example, it's the one way for investment. For example, we have the green bonds, and so decarbonization. The credits are so forth. So this is the financial instruments basically is used to help to reallocate the investment to the green sectors. So when it comes to what we mentioned, how exactly the green finance help the green agriculture. And so basically, so we checked from several cases and about some policies. So we found, so for the green agricultural finance, the aim is to improve the quality and safety certification system to green agricultural products. And so it's also encouraged to support new types of green agricultural cooperatives. For example, the organization and the farm and the farm organization, and also the farmer and the form cooperation and organizations, and for the support the green agriculture input industry. And the last one, we also need to support the R&D of the green agriculture technologies. So we will give several examples related to this green agriculture finance. We talk about, in fact, the mountain agriculture, not only mountain agriculture, but in fact, our agriculture. So it's kind of like one challenge we have. It's not easy to get the financing. So it's like the financing cost is in general is very high, and it's also very vulnerable to the nature. So based on this kind of the characteristics, in fact, the green finance, so they produce a lot of methodology to help the agriculture development. We checked, we did several of the how exactly the green finance play the role on agriculture development. For example, for the we have the green loans, green credit to tea and to fruits, and some other issued by the different banks. We have also green bond and the green funds. Is the green agriculture industry, and also have the green insurance. Basically, it's trying to capture to the disasters or climate risk, the damage from them. And we also have the fintech. So this is the very famous one is from the Mayi Jituan. In fact, it's Ant Group. They have, think in the Alipay, we all have the forestry. So this kind of Ant Forest, Mayi Senlin. And so we list several of the example, and then we gave two specific example. One is about the Liangshan white tea loan. So this is the one example related to the green finance in agriculture. So it's issued by the Rural Commercial Bank of Anji, Zhejiang Province. Anji is a very famous place for the white tea. So how exactly? So this loan, the target of this loan, basically, so this loan is used to say encourage so the brand protection and also the green development of white tea industry. So the whole the production chain, and so the maximum credit limits for a single loan was 3 million China yuan, and so it's used to meeting the financial needs. So this is the because of the it's not easy to get financing, but this the Liangshan white tea, so it's meet the financial needs for customers engaged in this white tea industry. Oh, okay. And then we have another case study is from the Henan Agriculture Fund project. So it's issued by the World Bank. So it's used to basically we say it's used to support the green agriculture investment, and so as we mentioned, it's also fostered the innovation and the adoptions of agriculture, so some technologies. So we, based on the green finance, how it's helped to the agriculture, we have some policy, the policy implications. Firstly, so because of the agriculture, the characteristics, we need to develop the green inclusive finance. And so second one, so the digital economics is very important. So we need to develop digital economics to the green development, especially to the agriculture. And the third one is more general to improve the carbon emission trading system. Okay, so that's all my sharing. So thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you. So I think I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Guo, for the thorough introduction on green financing and the relative cases. Green financing is new and yet to be popularized through demonstration projects. So now all Your presentation surely had raised awareness. There must be a lot of interest to combine projects. So let's join hands to explore opportunities.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
So now all of our speakers had delivered their speech. We are entering into the Q&A session. Please let me invite Professor Yishao Liang, Program Coordinator, High Life Transboundary Landscapes of ECMOD, to moderate this session. Prof. Yi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jingwei, and thank the speakers. We had a very wonderful session from our eminent speakers. I think because of the time, we have quite several questions directed to the speakers, but I will just make it simple. So I would like to start from Professor Guo. Thanks to this question actually came, so you are just here. So one is the question they are asking is what are the challenges of putting so one question is what are the challenges including green finance in each country's nationally determined contribution to achieve the carbon goals? So can you elaborate on this, answer this question in a very simple way? And otherwise, yeah, please. Professor Guo, are you here?
郭老师
Okay, I see from the chat box. And what's the challenges to green finance to achieve the carbon goal? So I think so. Still, so this is the kind of like the trade-off. So we do need the kind of the GDP growth rate, but in the other way. So I think the environmental is also very important. So how exactly what we can make this like both of them so they develop very well. This is exactly the role of the finance. So for example, we still use the green finance. So basically it's still the belong to the finance. So it's do have all the functions about the finance. For example, we do the investment, so the banks can still issue a lot of the bonds, but only like the what I think. So this is the kind of like when we exactly design the products. For example, okay, so we may focus on like trying to make the balance because for the development and also to the environment. So this is how we make the both of them. They can like development friendly and can go to a nice future. Yeah. So this is
thank you,
I'm not
Professor.
sure whether I get the Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Professor Go. Very, very good. And we have another time for two questions. Actually, we have several other questions, but I put it in the chat boxes specifically for Professor Li and Professor Xu. So let me pick up one question to Professor Xu. So what are the, how can nature-based textile materials from bamboo, from fungi, or others be mainstreamed? Professor Xu, are you here? Can you?
Okay. Textile depends on a lot of raw material. And our industrial revolution started with cotton on a large scale. That's symbolically, But what's a future textile? What a future fiber looks like? And now everyone fascinated about replace the fiber with bamboo. And unfortunately, bamboo fiber and you can find it in the market. I have one teacher from bamboo fiber, and but unfortunately, it's not going to sustainable because the cost, the material quality is not there. So it's a new generation of textile material, and cotton tree is one, and so which you found a lot of dryland tropics, and the second, the calotropis one, and now this year we submit a proposal and to facilitate this Nepal-China promotion of calotropis trade and with the market value chain. And similarly, we submit a proposal for South-South collaboration of China-Africa trade on calotropis fiber. So that's currently we're still developing. And as a new generation fiber, and they from bioreactors through the fungi, and so that's you can find a lot of bigger plant like Lululemon and the AV, and they are using now, and we're still developing, and it's still too far away from to put in the market. But some new fibers like cotton tree and calotropis were ready. So that's the simple question. Again, nature-based solution and from say rich species biological diversity and to generate a new fiber without the use of water, without the use of fertilizer and chemicals, and without compete agricultural land is possible. Today is the time now. Okay, I just
okay. Thank you, Professor Xu. There's a last one question. I think it's to Professor Li or Professor Xu. Either of you, if you have some idea to answer this question, let me read it out. It says, which agroforestry ICTs, information communication technology, I think, like AI or blockchain, etc., are the least expensive and can be transferred faster to developing countries? So either Professor Xu or Professor Li can pick up this question and reply in a very simple way. Thank you.
Okay, may I just try to answer the second question a little bit about how to integrating bamboo in the nature-based texture material. I think we need to do a lot of planning at the local governmental level involving industry and local farmers. And also bamboo, there are a lot of species, and actually we are now working with South China University of Technology in Guangzhou to try to selecting the best bamboo species for texture as a texture material, and hopefully we can get some good result. I mean, to make the most suitable species.
Okay, really simple. I don't like the less product. I like all products. High quality mean quality of life. Very expensive. So now in the urban-based city in China, the middle class young generation, they don't care the money. They care quality, way of living. So we need to find who is our consumer. Unfortunately, our China already into affluent society. That means rich and a lot of waste. So they can afford to buy. So my question is, doesn't matter bamboo, rattan, new generation fiber, new cooking oil, should be represent the way of living. That means green, circular, care for animals, biodiversity, but also mean good for your health and the quality of life. That means should be expensive. That's my answer.
Yeah, very good addition. Thank you, Professor Xu. I think because of the time, so we couldn't accommodate all the questions from the participants. So I'm sorry for this. I think if you can write somewhere so our professors can answer you, or you can contact them directly. So I would like to have some quick wrap up of our session. As I said, so this in this very well designed and also a short session. We have 5 presentations from our professors in the field, so they are very experienced. And Professor Nakul also gave a very good review of the rationale for nature-based solution, and he specifically mentioned the importance of this multidisciplinary and also the scale issue, and emphasized the importance for collaboration among the countries, among the region. So, and also he also introduced a few cases like application from ISMO and its partners. And we have Professor Dr. Zhu Chunquan. So he raised a very important part of that issue. And the IPBAs, we all know, mentioned this food production. So we need to change the consumption and production process. So that is a fundamental for the transformation. And Professor Dr. Zhu mentioned the one very important part of that food production and food consumption. So I think in his presentation, they especially mentioned the goals and also pathways to make positive transition in terms of food systems. And also mentioned what is needed. We need a consensus among the countries, and we need a policy and regulatory framework, and we need technology and innovation and funding. So those are very important to achieve this transition. And we have Professor Li, an expert in bamboo, and we know this meeting conference is part of the Rattan Bamboo Congress for 2022. And we talk about nature-based solutions. So what are the natural resources we can use to base our solutions? So I think Professor Li clearly mentioned bamboo is one of the most important resources we can rely on to achieve this nature-based, to find the solutions. And he gave a very good retrospection on the scientific part, the scientific advances, and also how it can be used to achieve our purpose. And then we come to Professor Xu. Professor Xu mentioned one very important phrases, I think, which is what we are going to do. We are moving, in the past, we are gradually moving away from our ancestors, the agriculture from the nature. So now we need to go back to the nature. I think this is what about nature-based. So then Professor Xu mentioned many important, like the scientific, business, and also the material, the diverse materials actually we can use for nature-based solution. So then for all this, we move to Professor Guo. She addressed one of the most important. We know the solutions needs to funding resources, which is the most important. Now we are talking about investment. So Professor Wu gave a very good overview of what is China doing in green finance to achieve the carbon goals and also other related issues. So those are very good information, and I couldn't. She gave very good examples from China. So what I can see is from Professor Wu's presentation is there's increased interest in this green finance, and China has been active in this. there are a lot of experiences from different provinces. So there are also a lot of actors who are involved in this process, and there are many successful cases to use to learn from. So those are the very good information. So for me, again, for this 5 professors' presentation, what I learned is the message is moving back to nature is very much important, is very much needed. And second point is there are rich resources for nature-based solutions in the region, and there are rich practices already in the region we can learn from. The third point is science and technology are very important in this transformation. As we can clearly see from all the presentations from the professors, science and technology are emphasized in the process and are important for the translation. And all the professors also mentioned one very important part. This market is important. As Professor Xu mentioned, market recognized products. We are in a globalized world and we are the market economy. So this market regulation is very important for finding the solutions. In this case, we need a business model. We need involvement of the business people, of the players in the market. So those are very important. And for this, Professor will come to this idea. Now we have this green finance. So the finance sector, the bank sectors, the business people. So those are all very important. They have a great role to play. And also, there is a scale issue. Scale is important. A multidisciplinary approach is important. So for this one, regional collaboration, including transboundary collaboration, is very important. And the last point I want to say is there is a very good basis for us to learn from each other in the region. So this is a summary from this session. So I would like to thank all the speakers again for your wonderful presentation, and also for the audiences for your patience. So now I would like to give it back to Jingwei for your next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yi, to summarize the key points and to find the interlogics of the 5 presentations, which had enlightened us on actions to be taken in the future. In order to realize the recommended actions from this seminar, the 5 organizations had resolute to join efforts to bring concrete results. So please allow me to invite Prof. Yang Yongping, Director General of the Xishuangbanna Botanical Garden of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, to announce the most lately signed MOU among the 5 organizations. Prof. Yang, the floor is yours.
好，谢谢金威谢谢
Thank you. Thank you, our moderator, and also give thanks to all the previous speakers. I'm very glad to participate in the meeting and hear these 5 presentations. And I met also many old friends and new friends. I'm very glad that I could be given the opportunities to introduce this MOU signed last month by 5 organizations. Well, and the 5 organizations are namely INBAR and also the Xishuangbanna Botanical Gardens, China Academy of Science, and also the Southeast Asia Biodiversity Research Center and International Mountain Development Center. Well, and also like Professor Naku comes from, where also the 3D Research Center. This Mountain Research Center. So the 5 organizations and we work together and to carry out the biodiversity research as well as the studies in this regard. Some speaker like Professor Li talk about the bamboo and from the Southeast Asia, and they have very abundant resources. And like Professor Xu pointed out, we can also have a lot of cooperation here, and we protect the endangered species, the plants, and also to develop the rural area. Also, Professor Zhu So mentioned they talk a lot about this development, and Professor Ku also touched upon this development in the rural areas. Well, also we hope that on the regional level, and the 5 organizations would also like to carry out cooperation in southwestern part of China, and also in Southeast Asia, as well as in South Asia region. Well, Naku also talk about this cross-border biodiversity protection or conservation. Thirdly, and we can also develop programs of the training programs for the personnel. Well, like we giving their training classes, and also we can hold workshops in this regard. We also hope that among these 5 organizations, and they can share resources together, especially in terms of carrying out projects together, sharing information, etc. Fifthly, we also expect that we can arrange some activities together, like the sessions today we have. We also hope that with Professor Zhu, we can also work together. We also hope that we can co-apply for projects at home and abroad. Well, and I would like to avail this opportunity to introduce to you INBAR and also Botanical Garden in Sichuan, and also this International Mountain Research Center. Well, thank you. Here's all together, and these 5 organizations signed this MOU. Thank you for listening.
Dr. Ali Mchumo, Director General of INBAR, would like to say a few words echoing your comments.
Distinguished Professor Yang Yongping, the Director General, Sichuan Botanical Garden, Chinese Academy of Sciences, distinguished speakers and participants. I join Professor Yang in extending my heartfelt congratulations to each of the partners of this Memorandum of Understanding. It will bring to ground comprehensive and innovative development projects that connect with the people who live in poverty in most remote areas of the world. These include the people in my home country, Tanzania, which is the site of Africa's highest point, Mount Kilimanjaro, and the lowest point, the flow of Lake Tanganyika. Some people say that Mount Kilimanjaro is not only the highest in Africa, but the highest standalone mountain in the world.
Yes.
I think that is something which scientists will continue to debate.
Yes, scientists would be interested. Yeah.
Yeah, and the initiative of the 5 organizations fits perfectly with INBAR's mission, which is to improve the well-being of producers and users of bamboo and rattan within the context of a sustainable bamboo and rattan resource base by consolidating, coordinating, and supporting strategic and adaptive research and development. So please allow me to confirm INBAR's sincerity and commitment in the cooperation. I wish to generate many fruitful results in the coming years, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Professor Yi, please comment on behalf of ICIMOD.
Okay. So, Your Excellency, Ali Mchumo, and the CEO of INBAR, and Professor Yang and Professor Xu. So, on behalf of ICIMOD, so I want to say ICIMOD is very pleased to join in the partnership with all of you for Sichuan Botanical Garden and Centers for Mountain Future. So we are already long-term partners, and so with the this MOU with INBAR, so I'm sure our collaboration will be further strengthened. So ISMOD will work to its best to work and on all the areas we have envisioned in the MOU, and also ISMOD also very happy to provide a platform for all of you to cooperate in the region. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So I suggest that we applaud for our cooperation. So Professor Zhu, we express our appreciation for sharing the model of nature positive economy. So we would like to cooperate as well. Yeah. Please stay in the loop with us. So now I would like to declare the successful closing of our seminar. So let me extend our sincere gratefulness to our speakers and organizers of their dedicated work. Thank you for our participants. We are looking forward for fruitful cooperation in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank the professors.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.